Yo, what's crack-a-lackin', Ridge Runner Nation? Welcome back to our 50th episode of Ridge Runners Live. Tonight, we are joined by two of the most incredible athletes, not only in Cincinnati, not only in Ohio, not only in the United States, but in the entire world. These two were the final two participants at this year's Ohio's Backyard Ultra a few weeks ago. The champion ended up running 229.16 miles in 55 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, Harvey Lewis, how are you doing?
Thank you. I love your introduction music. And Jeff, I know we're both very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us tonight.
We're super excited to have both of you. Obviously, in the Backyard Ultra format, you cannot go far without someone by your side. The assist at this year's Ohio's Backyard Ultra ended up running 225 miles in 54 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Russo, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. That was quite the intro. Way to sell it.
I really try to, do it up. It was actually for episode number 50. This is a special episode for us. So we're super excited to talk all things Ohio's Backyard Ultra with both of you. For those of you that don't know, my name is Wesley Hart, and holding down the fort with me tonight is the man who's been recently upping his training in his quest to his first 100-mile finish this summer. JD3, John Dolovaki III. How are you doing?
Always with the intros with you. I think Wesley missed a couple shows for the last month, and now he's dumping the entire build up that he's got for it going. So I'm doing really well this evening. I'm happy to be on the show tonight and talking with these two amazing runners. And to kick things off, as we always do, our beverage of choice for the evening. I'm drinking a Terrapin this evening from the other Athens, Georgia. Not the Athens that I am from, but it's pretty delicious. It's a IPA. So what do you anyone else, Jennifer, what are you drinking over there? Anything exciting?
No, not really. It's been a long day, so I've got my water with a little none in it.
Nice.
Little extra vitamins and stuff, but maybe I crack open a Blue Moon later.
Nice. Harvey, what about you? Last time you were here, you had a very exciting orange juice.
Oh yeah, my orange juice. I love orange juice, but I actually got kombucha tonight. However, Kelly did open up Sixth Sense. It's a nice brewery that's down in Jackson, Ohio. And so it's in a refrigerator just within arm's reach, these large ones. So I may actually have to try some of that tonight too.
Well, it could be a wild night.
Could
yeah, why not?
Woo!
It doesn't matter.
Wesley, what about
I've got
you?
my second to last Jackie O's Mystic Mama here. I decided to crack open the second to last one I have out here for the special occasion. So thought that we couldn't be a better night, especially with Ohio's Backyard Ultra and, talking about the race. It's going to be an awesome episode. As always, if you have any questions for our guests, drop them in the comments below and we can grab those and we'll be sure to ask them. As always, you can find the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're on Strava, join our Strava club as well. The name is Ridge Runners on all platforms. Before we dive too deep into Ohio's Backyard Ultra, I want to talk about what the preparations were like leading into the race. Obviously, this format is so unique. You both have experience at this format and both have done epic things at this format. But what was your preparation? What was the training like going into this year's Ohio's Backyard Ultra? And Harvey, let's start with you.
Yeah, well, I had an opportunity to go out and see the course in February, which was kind of nice. Michael Owen, he opened up the course for people to come out and preview it. And just a month earlier than our race, we had snow on the ground, but it was nice to see how the course was set up. And for me, that was my first time doing a course outside of Biggs for the Backyard Ultra, as well as doing a course that had two loops instead of a single loop. So one of the things I noticed was a really steep hill that is part of the loop. And so I incorporated as much climbing and running as I could, in Cincinnati, which actually, Southwest Ohio has quite a lot of hills, and Cincinnati does as a city. And, that helped. And even hiking as well as running hills, it really helped a lot. So that, as well as balancing, like doing about an even amount of running on trails as running on roads was really helpful. But yeah, I have really shot for like this Ohio backyard to do, to go after is an A race. So I trained pretty like focused, and gave myself, a couple weeks taper. And that doesn't always happen in races. Like I have another race this next week, the buck 50. So I haven't had a lot of time to build up, a pyramid and have like a taper time. And I'm gonna do the, another race is Strolling Gym 40 miler. So again, it's like not quite as long of a set, but yeah, it was nice to prepare for that race because of all the nice, trail running as well as balancing with the road.
Well, I think it's hard to argue that you were definitely fit coming into this race, and we kind of showed that out there. Jennifer, what was your training like leading into this year's Ohio's Backyard Ultra?
So the first one I did, I really kind of focused on doing those backyard style loops, which takes so much time, right? If you're going to stop every hour and try and mimic that situation. So this time I didn't do quite as much of that because I felt like I kind of knew a little bit more what to expect there. But like Harvey said, with the hills, I that first one, I hadn't been doing as many hills as I normally would. And I paid for it a little bit, I guess. So this time, some more hills, but the weather was so crazy. So, and I don't have, a ton of time to train. So I tried to get a little creative this winter and got my old tire out and started towing the tire a little bit and doing some hill repeats. I wanted to throw in 100 there because I think that's just such a great way to get, to really get a big boost in your training, but it just really wasn't going to be possible. So I did a little mental training. I did 100 miles backyard format on my treadmill because the weather here was so bad with all of the snow. And I was like, if I try to go out on the trails, it's going to take me forever to do like 100 miles there, right? Because you're prancing through the snow. And I didn't want to do it all road. So I thought, good mental preparation, right? Treadmill. Hate the treadmill.
And so when was this? Like a timeline before the race?
The treadmill
Yes.
thing. I want to say it was probably about a month before, I guess. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to start at 9 a.m. I think I got the kids off to school and just went down there for 24 hours on the treadmill. So yeah, it did the backyard style format. So it was, I didn't think it'd be that bad. It was not fun, but I'm glad I did it. I think, if nothing else, it just toughened you up a little bit mentally.
So this is super unique. So Jennifer, you just talked about how you did 100 miles before the Backyard Ultra, and Harvey didn't mention that he won the long haul 100 miler earlier this year as well.
I was second.
Oh, excuse me.
I did a personal record for the 100-mile trail in my lifetime, but another fellow from Vermont or New Hampshire, he got me by about 20 minutes.
Oh,
yeah,
my apologies there. Yeah. But what was that mindset like? Do you think it's necessary to kind of go into a Backyard Ultra having that experience in the 100 miler, maybe a 1 or 2 month beforehand, just kind of freshen all the things up and kind of go into the Backyard Ultra with that confidence that you may gain from a 100-mile distance?
Well, I certainly don't think it hurts. Like that's helpful. Like, I oftentimes use races to build upon for other races. So I think that could be very helpful, but you definitely don't have to do that. Like that, for sure, you don't have to do that. And, but for, that could help people to build their confidence and things like that. But with the race and long haul, like I was doing 100 miles, I averaged like a 8:46 pace or something like that. So it's like the speed element in that race is a different pace than the Backyard Ultra. So like Backyard Ultra, like when I'm getting ready for that, is just, I don't really, except for my personal fitness, thinking about it across the whole year, I don't really think about my pace too much. Like I don't care what pace I'm going. If I'm going like 12 minutes, okay. I'm going 9 minutes, okay. But if I'm getting ready for like Badwater, then I want to start thinking more methodically about a certain speed, or especially the 24-hour race, like the World Championship race. But I think it could help you to do, some building block, but that building block might be like a 50K race, or it might be something personal like Jennifer did, which was really nice, something like that, just to have some something you've done to build up to it. But sometimes people, they might overtrain by situating a race too close to another race.
Yeah,
There's
for sure.
definitely that fine balance there. Jennifer, what are your thoughts on that and that kind of training philosophy?
Yeah, everybody's so different, you know what I mean? And it all depends too, like how hard you take your 100-mile race. Personally, I think it's, it's a great just kind of reminder that, okay, I can do this. I am in shape to do this. It's, and I think too, when you're running a race versus just training, you tend to push a little harder. And I think I get a lot of benefit from that, just, as far as what kind of shape I'm in and endurance and all of those good things. So, but it's certainly not necessary. And it is so easy to try and pack too many in and end up, showing up just worn out, you know what I mean? And are injured. So, I think it's just a very personal thing. But I personally do like to have that, when possible. It's just not always possible.
And so looking at that balance, I mean, you guys both talked about balance already and stuff like that. We have a question in the chat from Ryan Weiser, who says, as a teacher myself, how does Harvey balance training, family, and schoolwork? I think both of you are qualified to answer this question in terms of being overly very, very busy and very active with many different facets in your life. So Harvey, if you want to go first and kind of talk about that balance and how do you fit that all in?
Yeah, I'd say it was more challenging when my son was younger. My son is 24 now, turning 25 in 2 weeks. So that makes it a little bit easier for me. But it definitely I include a lot of shorter runs too. So I had mentioned that I shared a post today with a 4 series of things that impacted me with the Ohio backyard on my social media. And I sometimes only have 20 minutes or something like that. I'll just go out and run 2 miles and I take advantage of that. And I don't always have a 2-hour block of time to go do something, but I think getting out there and doing 20 minutes in the morning or 20 minutes in the afternoon, that stuff adds up. So whatever you have as resources, take advantage of it. And if you can be creative, for me, I've had the opportunity because I live in an urban area near where I work. It's like a 3-mile run. So I actually, run back and forth to every day. And I have that commute for 8 years. And a lot of people spend time in traffic, but I'm running to work and I very much enjoy it. So it's, that was a creative way I could do that, but it's not always everyone. Longer runs on the weekend or getting up early, that helps. But not putting too much pressure on yourself, being prioritizing what's important to you based on your goals and managing all your responsibilities. But sometimes it's just that consistency. I really like the streaking too. I've been keeping a run streak for now over a year, and I had one that almost went 5 years. And I really like that, even if it's just a mile run or 2-mile run, that really can elevate your overall fitness as long as you are taking easy days and not going the same effort every single day or hard days over and over again. But it's just finding a balance is right for your life.
Jennifer,
what about you?
Yeah, that's also true. So I've got 3 kids and I've got 2 small businesses. So, life's pretty hectic, but I'm lucky in the fact that my work is flexible. So that helps tremendously. But it is all about just trying to kind of squeeze it in where you can. And part of what I would do for the backyard is not every week, but on Fridays, often I get up at 3 or 4 in the morning and just go straight out on my little country road and, try and get some couple hours in before getting the kids off to school and, just trying to get creative with it. And because I don't have a ton of time, I try to make them count, like I was saying, pulling a tire for 5 miles versus a 10-mile run, little things that you can do where you're making the most of every training session, I guess. And then my family's just been super great about being supportive. And when I can, I love to get out to Shawnee State Park. And, you're familiar with those trails. It's gorgeous out there, and just try to get pack a bunch of miles into one day, kind of thing. So it just really depends. And, just fitting it in here and there. And there are days where, you've got a long run schedule, but it's just not going to happen. There's no time. So you do what you can. And then maybe you take care of the kids, shuffle things around, and then go back out later and try and finish up, or not. You just can't beat yourself up because you can't always get the miles in. But I think once you have, and Harvey obviously knows this, he's been running forever. Once you have that base fitness, you maybe don't need to put quite as many miles in.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys have kind of realized and kind of figured out the system that like life can kind of almost be described as the backyard ultra. Sometimes you're running full speed, and sometimes you try to squeak in a 4-minute nap when you can, and kind of just continue to go at it in circles all day, every single day.
That is so true, because yes, just the busy lifestyle is training in itself.
I want to dive into the race now, and just kind of arriving at the McChesney Ridge Athletic Club. You saw some guy on our channel throw up a prediction video that snubbed you both completely. He would have been more correct if he flipped his top 5 inversely, because then I would have actually been pretty correct that day. But what was just the atmosphere like, showing up at the property, seeing everyone, all the tents are getting set up on Friday afternoon. What was that like? Jennifer, you can start this one.
It was really fun. So last year, or in November, I was back pretty far away from the start line. So this year I thought, okay, I want to get there early and see if I can get a good spot. And it was kind of funny because, Michael was very serious this year about nobody is setting up till 2, which I totally get. That's fair. But everybody was just kind of standing around, kind of joking about vying for their spot, like everybody was trying to get a good spot. But it was funny. I got to meet some really nice people. I got to meet Gabe Rainwater, which was neat. I hadn't met him before. And in his crew and a lot of other people, but it was really pretty laid back, and everybody was just kind of hanging around chit chatting. And then, right around 2:00, all the madness broke out as everybody's vying for a spot, but everybody was very good, very accommodating. Nobody was, being rude about it, but it was kind of fun. And then, it was exciting, getting all set up for the big day the next day and seeing some old friends and, seeing Tanner and Alicia and Jessica, and met some new people. And yeah, it was good. It was exciting.
Harvey, what was that excitement level for you arriving at the property?
Well, honestly, I definitely have to thank my crew, and specifically Max. He was my crew chief, so I was getting relayed the information while I was still working at school, and I knew that was gonna happen with that 2:00 moment. I said, Max, you gotta get there and be ready to sprint. And he said, well, Harvey, I hate to tell you, but I kind of looked the other way. And Michael went up to the cabin. It was about 1:57, and everyone started sprinting towards the place. But we still got an okay spot all in all. But yeah, so now we're gonna, in the future, there's gonna be 2 races that happen at the Ohio Backyard. It's gonna be the 2:00 sprint. We'll have the crew, and then we'll commence the race at 7:30 on Saturday. So that is known. And I'm wondering how much more that's going to, because I told Michael about how Laz has a system with how he organizes it, but we will see. But when I got there Friday night about 6:30, and it was really neat to see all the tents set up. I walked up to the lake and just looked down, and it was nice to just see this, little village that had was created in this little charming valley, with hills of trees and all over, and just a lot of enthusiasm about everyone that was participating. So I think that people did a really good job of respecting COVID, with masks or social distancing, washing your hands frequently, or using, people were very conscious of it. And I think that, it just was really, it was really meaningful to just get everyone back together, and to see that we race safely. And, it just felt amazing to have that camaraderie with people, and, the race and push, but the camaraderie was really special. So that was nice.
Yeah, quick shout out to Max Gavazzi for being your crew chief and getting everything set up there. That was awesome to see. Also, if you've never been in the McChesney Ridge Athletic Club, I mean, that place is just beautiful. I mean, everyone that's kind of run Ohio's Backyard Ultra, you just kind of realize when you see that property, you just know something special is about to go down. I think that's really why the race has been so successful in terms of how far runners have gone. I think it's just one of those special environments that just allows runners to go extremely far. And I think that just makes it a super unique event. Kind of going off that, let's dive into the race now. I want to learn all about this. This will kind of be interesting because let's just bounce back and forth between you two. And obviously you won't remember every single detail, every single yard. We won't ask you that, but let's just start with the first day loop. So the first daytime loop. So the first 12 hours or so, what are some of your highlights throughout the day? What are some of your struggles? What are the transitions like? And just kind of some of the nuances involving that. Harvey, if you want to start with that one first.
Yeah, it was just really neat to see. We had 108 people racing. So I tried to get an opportunity to just say hi to whoever was next to me. And, that was really fun. I ran into one of my students. She's a rower in Cincinnati, and her coach was running in the race. And she had told me how she was following him. So that was neat to hear. And I actually ran into people that I had never met before. Another guy who graduated or went to Bowling Green State University in the same class with me. And there's another guy who was in my class, Jason, who ran the race. So
Love that pause.
Endeavor into the backyard format. He was an Ironman, came from Kansas City. So it was just interesting. Oops, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me as well. But it's just really interesting in the first 12 hours, like connecting with people and seeing, some people, that they're going for like their personal record of hitting like a marathon. Like I ran into someone who was doing that, and someone who's going to hit 50 miles for the first time or 100K. And so like that was really special because that's like, oh man, that still needs to be involved with you doing that right now. And so that's what really caught me up, was just seeing these people, that were pushing to new peaks. And that was super motivating.
Yeah, Jennifer, what about you?
So having just done it in November, there were a lot of the same faces there, which was kind of fun. I'd met some really great people the first time I was there. So it was so cool to kind of see them again and just kind of catch up. And one thing, it's only my second time doing that format, and it's still so kind of foreign, right? Because when you start off those laps, nobody's in a hurry, right? You've got all day. In fact, I think it can be a detriment, if you start out too fast. So I had a lot of fun kind of catching up with some people I had met in the past and meeting new people. And I also found it very interesting. Like I like to kind of watch other people's strategies, like, because I'm new at this. And I think Harvey, you were taking your laps kind of slow during the day. And some of the other, like Gabe and Jacob, I think they were running like the first lap and then walking the second. It was just really interesting, I found, to just kind of observe, how different people deal with this and, what works for them and all that kind of good stuff. So, but it was absolutely, the weather this year was absolutely gorgeous. So it was a great first day. It went so fast, but.
So the first 12 hours is definitely just the party. That's the only way to describe it. Back it off. It's like, hey,
sure.
How you doing? You get to meet people you haven't met before. You get to interact and chit chat with
right.
friends you've known for so long, and it's just a great environment. But in the nightfall comes, party kind of ends. It's not as fun anymore. What were those night loops like? That first night going back out on the road for the first time. Jennifer, if you want to start with this one.
Sure. It's funny. There's a guy named Sean Humphrey who I met last year, and he's a local, I think he lives in Dayton, and he's in one of these online Facebook groups that has a lot of Cincinnati Dayton runners in it. But anyway, I met him for the first time last year at the backyard and ran a lot of the night loops with him. And just funny that happened to do the same thing with him again this year. So he's kind of like my first night running buddy, I guess. So we had a good time. He's a policeman. He's got a lot of good stories. So that was entertaining. And then there was the cat, Harvey, right? The cat that came out. I don't know. There was this adorable little cat.
I guess it was at the first night or second night. Maybe like
both.
The first night. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed him. He was there the first night for sure. But he was about maybe I don't know, a mile into the loop down the hill, there was this adorable little cat that would just come out, very well fed, like it wasn't a stray, that would come out and greet us. That was kind of entertaining. But yeah, I didn't think the first night was bad. There were still so many people out there. And, just seeing all the headlights and oh, what's his name? Is it Stuart that cheers everybody on with the gloves? I won't say what the gloves say, but he had his big,
Yes, Stuart. Yeah.
yeah. But he was out there. So, that I'm trying to remember at what point he was out there. But he kept us going, cheering. What was that?
Most of the night. He was
there most of the night. Yeah. And then they took a little nap, but yeah, they were out there cheering us on. So yeah, I think the first, I think for me anyway, like the first 6 or so laps are pretty fun and entertaining. And then you do get to a point though, I think, where you're starting to count them down, like how many more hours till we get to see the sun again. But yeah, but it was still a fun time.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Love it.
Harvey, how about you? How was those first set of night loops for you?
Well, it was still kind of a party, honestly. Like, cause we finished, I think, the first 100 miles with like 34 runners, which is really impressive. I'm not sure if that's the most, but it's possibly one of the most number of people that finish 100 miles in a backyard ultra. So that was it was still a pretty big party.
Mm-hmm.
And and then we had some other special entertainment along the course. There was a kid who was maybe like 8 to 10, 11 years old who was blasting the Rocky music out in the house on the second floor. That was nice.
Awesome.
And then we had these little girls who were probably about maybe 5, and they were like quizzing people like, "Why are you running? Why are you running?" So they're along the course. So this is kind of like a rural Ohio area in Scioto County. But there are some homes that dot the 2 point whatever miles out and 2 miles back. So you see some cars coming and going in different things. You just kind of like start to identify like physical points that are reference points for like time or mileage. And you just start to familiarize yourself with the course. Like that's, you just you memorize every little light, tree, shadow as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's different with the Biggs backyard is there are only like maybe four houses on that course. So it does happen to like overlap with Halloween. So they sometimes do have like this haunted like field, which is kind of bizarre, but otherwise it's very quiet. It's not very populated. And so, I mean, even when it got to like the, second night and it was just Jennifer and I, like we would still see, some, hints of civilization and people, which when you're out in the Biggs backyard, there's no one at the turnaround. You just go out, they have a timing device, and you come back. And the only one you see is the person you're running with. So it was kind of nice to see the people living in that format. Is different than urban life. For sure.
That's awesome. We're going to give you guys a quick breather real quick and just remind everybody who is watching that this is live, and please ask questions in the chat. We have a good section of questions lining up, and we'll get to those before the show is over tonight. That being said, if you like what we're doing here, please give us a like and subscribe below. We love doing this and we want to continue doing this, so the subscriptions help us a lot. Let's get into the next part, which is when the sun comes up and y'all should be getting energy back, right? Going into party day 2. Is that how that works?
Yep.
Harvey, you want to start with that?
Yeah, there's something magical about that sunrise. Like it always, in my lifetime, always when you're running, you may go through like some sort of like, physical, low or medium or whatever it is. But as soon as that sun rises, there's always some extra special kick that gives you an extra something, even if it's like day 2 or 3 or beyond that. It's like something special about that sunrise. And it's kind of the essence of ultra running. You're pushing through barriers and periods, and it's nice. It's really nice when you make it to that next morning.
Jennifer, did you have any challenges, or did you guys start to feel any challenges, in that second daytime loop in the first 12 hours there?
No. So second daytime loop. No. There was still a pretty large number of people out there still running, which was awesome. And for years I've had some issues with the knee on and off, but it's awesome. This happened to me in November. Like, it hurts, but then it goes away, and then it hurts, and then it goes away. But I felt great. I had a good, I felt great. I wasn't, that sun comes up, it re-energizes you. And yeah, it was a great day, and got to talk to some, there weren't as many people out on the course, but I talked to a few people that, I'd run with before or had met before, but I guess I probably spent a little more time by myself that second day, but yeah, no, it was good. Felt really good.
As someone who's observed this, from afar a couple of times, I just think it's hilarious that you're 150 miles in, no issues. We're just hanging out, just absolutely no problems at all. I've been a couple people in the chat are probably just kind of laughing at the fact of that as well. It's just so incredible to hear you guys talk about that and how smooth you even feel through the second day loop. I mean, there were 8 runners that made it 150 miles this year at Ohio's Backyard Ultra, which was a ton of runners to obviously hit that mark. So go into the second night now. Were there any challenges there? Please say yes.
So I felt great through until about the third or fourth last, I guess the third last night loop. Harvey and I were running different paces. He would go out real fast, and I would kind of take my time and come back. And I don't know that I really slept like I intended to sleep, but then my crew was there, and they were great, and we'd do whatever, and I had to make sure I ate, because that could be my demise. But I had to make sure I was eating, so that was kind of my priority. But anyway, I guess when I got down to the third last road loop, all of a sudden behind my right knee there was a sharp pain, and that did not make me happy. And this was about the time that Harvey and I ran a couple loops together, and I'm like, darn it, I can't stop and stretch now, because I got to be tough. I'm not hurting. Don't show any pain, right? So I pulled something behind there, and it just kept getting worse. So that was kind of when I started to go downhill a little bit. And it was weird too, because it's not a pain I've ever had before. So, I didn't quite know what to expect, but so there you go. Does that make you feel better?
I'm just glad it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows out there for you both, because that's kind of what it seems to be. But I mean, Harvey, I'm sure you had some challenges out there as well. When did those kind of start creeping in, if they did at all?
I felt sleepy a little bit, the second night, the last few loops there in the nighttime. I felt a little bit sleepy. So it's you get in this mode where you just you're running, and then you just oh. So yeah, I felt sleepy. Yeah, and it's interesting, because I've had races where the backyard where the first night I felt real tired, and then the second night I wasn't tired at all. And but yeah, I felt a little sleepy on that those last few loops on that second night. But it's interesting that we had 8 people that got to 150. And that's part of it too, is watching okay, well, who's going to go out next? You just kind of it's I hate to say, it's almost kind of entertaining. Once you get to that part, you're see, okay, what's going to happen next? And so that helps to propel the whole group to a further level if those people make it even further,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because you look at some people, and they, well, what does Last say? It's easy till it's not, or something like that, which is so true, because you look at people, they look great, they look totally fine, then all of a sudden they're gone, and you think, what the heck happened? But I was interviewing other runners on the course. I was taking bets about how long it was going to go.
We should have had you out there reporting for us.
Yeah, right.
We do have some good comments from the chat room. Mr. Chadwick Robinson is in the chat this evening and says just wants everyone knows, says, tell Harvey that this is the guy who he told running the first night was like a massage, and just reference to it was like running on an aircraft carrier. So
Uh-oh. Don't give all the secrets away, Chadwick.
But that being said, you guys moving into the second, full second day, 200 miles, sleeping is going to be in part at some point. Like you're going to have to somehow nap. You train to learn how to nap in short bursts, or you just kind of push through, or because I mean, I eventually imagine to get to that 300-mile mark, that's going to be a requirement of some sort. You're going to have some sort of nap. So is that something you guys trained for or try to plan for, or what was your guys' plan of attack for sleeping? Jennifer, you want to go first?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, throw that one to Harvey. No. So in November, I think I actually did close my eyes a bit. This one, I kind of tried to, but I was right by the start finish line. So especially that first night when I was trying to kind of catch some rest coming faster, it was not happening for me because, there was still a ton of people out there, and every time they came in, there was cheering, which was awesome, but that made it impossible. And then the second night, I think I did try to close my eyes a little bit, but just not really with much success. I think I was really more focused on just trying to make sure I was getting food in. Um, so I don't know. I do pretty good without a lot of sleep. So I think just if anything else, just, when you can come in a little faster, get off your feet and just try and, chill out.
Harvey, what about you?
Yeah, I think the sleep is overrated. No, honestly, it's doable without the sleep. You may just close your eyes and attempt to sleep. But if you could get some sleep, it would just be added bonus to like give you more energy. So when I was racing like the Big's backyard, and I got to 277 with Courtney, like I didn't sleep at all, and really that was probably like it was something we were so close to 300, but I did a couple things wrong. So I could have made it to 300. Courtney could have made it to 300, and I could have done it without any sleep still. So it's possible, but once you get into that third night, you really create more mental challenge for if you cannot get any sleep. Yeah. So training, yes. Like I laid down today for 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm always like thinking about it. When I'm at school, I go lay down for 5 minutes. I do. Like I go back in the closet, I go lay down 5 minutes during the lunch time. Like not every day, but if it's like a backyard, and I'm not like thinking about another backyard for 6 months, so it's not really important. But it's one thing that I know is if I'm going to go really, really far, like 300 plus, that I really need to. That's one of my weaknesses I need to work on, and that's probably my biggest weakness is being able to just lay down right now and go sleep in 5 minutes, like 5 minutes out.
It's awesome.
And usually I can fall asleep pretty well, but it's a challenge. Like Jennifer's saying, is like when your heart's going, you have to have total relaxation to rely on your team. That they're gonna wake you up when it's like 2 whistles ago. What if they mess up with the whistle? Like these are all the things that you kind of think about. Mm-hmm. You put all this effort into it, and it's sometimes hard to slow your mind down as your heart's going and you're trying to just rest, like fall asleep for a minute or two. Yeah, it can be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome to hear that perspective. Speaking about challenges, I know Cody Warren asked in the chat, says, what do each of you think about strategies to push through in those low moments in the race, and what kind of mental games do you play to keep going, especially when it's down to just 2 of you and it's just like who's going to drop first? Harvey, if you want to go first on that one.
Sure. Well, there's some things that you can't control. Like, you want to go as far as humanly possible, and you believe you'll be the last person. But anything can happen. Like, I could have twisted my ankle, some unusual situation on a rock or something like that. It's nothing that you don't plan for that. Hopefully you make your steps well, but you could have something like that happen, or like what Jennifer was saying, like the back of her knee, some sort of thing that is not in your realm of like what you anticipated could happen, and then you just have to work through whatever that is. And so definitely keep a positive mindset. Like I was very fortunate to have a really amazing team with Max as my crew chief. And then after half the field dropped, we were allowed to have more people. So I had another friend, Cody, who came and relieved Max. Kelly, my partner, she came out and relieved the team, Alec, and another friend, Nick. So like having those positive people there. And I think I saw Jennifer, it seemed to have a very strong team as well. And like, so having those strong team members there, like it's super powerful because you're kind of like in sync with them, that the mindset is always positive.
Yep, for sure. Yep. So it's funny. My first backyard, I asked Michael Owen, I said, "Do you really need a crew?" And he's like, "No, you don't certainly have to have a crew." And I'm not used to having crew or pacers for any of the races I do. But then anyway, so I did have a crew. My husband crewed me the first one, and then he generously offered to crew me again. But then we've got, the 3 kids. So Jeff Landrum and Claire, they were crewing Andrew Wall, who was there he only went 50 miles because he had an injury, but he still wanted to be a part of it. So they said, "Hey, if you're still going, we'll stay and crew you," which was absolutely amazing. I don't even know them all that well, but they were willing to give up their weekend and help me out. And then my daughter had come Saturday morning and stayed for a while. And then my husband, when Jeff and Claire were crewing me, he went back. He got my son from UC, showed up with him and my daughter again. And my middle son was in school and had stuff, he couldn't come. But just like having, sure, you don't have to have crew, but oh my gosh, what a difference it makes, and having my kids there and my husband there. And then Jeff and Claire were fantastic. And, they kind of would rotate out, and it was just awesome. They were such a huge help, helping me, fixing me food and, offering to change my shoes or whatever. I'm like, I can do it. But, it was just so wonderful to have that support. And they were also upbeat and positive, and yeah, it was great. And my kids were cheering me on. So, and, I don't really feel like I ever had a low. I mean, there's times where you may not be having the time of your life, but, it's fine. You just keep going, and the saying in ultras, it doesn't always get worse, right? Like when you think it's really terrible, then an hour later you're on cloud 9, it doesn't, it ebbs and flows. But I felt happy the whole time. I felt, I was having a good time.
So now we're at the point of the race where it's just the 2 of you both, you're the final 2 left. Did you guys know, that it was going to go on as long as it did with just you 2 as the final 2? What were those emotions like when you guys realized you were the final 2? Was it like, oh, this thing could end in a couple loops, or did you know, I'm going to be here for another day or so?
Well, I'll start. So your prediction, Wes, I knew Harvey was not going to be 5th or 6th.
I think the world did too.
Yeah, no, I was, in fact, I was telling you how I was interviewing people. Like I asked a few people, I'm like, how long do you think it's going to go? They're like, oh, it won't go to 200. I'm like, oh, it'll go to 200. I say, with the people that are here, I said, I think it goes close to 300, because there were some big names, and I thought for sure it might get up that high. So it happened fast though. There were 8 of us, and then all of a sudden, it seemed like a blink of an eye, it was down to Harvey and I. And I looked at my crew and I said, darn it, just me and Harvey. This isn't good. So anyway, I had no idea how long it was going to go. I had big dreams, I wanted to push 300, but I'm new to this. I had no idea what was actually going to be possible, but I just wanted to go as long as I could. So I figured we'd go for a while, but you never know, right? Anything can change in an instant.
Did you guys have any interactions out there, like on the course, like at different moments, like when it was just the final 2 that you were more special than, when there's 108 people in the field?
Well, I would say about the last question, because this someone's a good question too, but I enjoyed hearing Jennifer's children go mom. That was pretty neat. So I run across the pond, and
yeah,
their enthusiasm was pretty cool. But
that was really cool.
Really interesting, seeing how we were at, I guess, 8 runners at 150, and then all of a sudden it seemed like Jennifer was saying, it was super fast. It got down to just she and I, And so I think when we had 8 runners at 150, I was anticipating that more runners would make it longer with us. I was, really surprised to see. I know some people, they had like injuries or things come up, and I was surprised to see some of the runners like leave when they did. Like I thought they would go longer, and so and then it was down to Jennifer and I. And then at that point, I just think, I don't think anything about it. Like honestly, it could go on for as long as that, whatever, so I never think about that. I don't think like, oh, it's only gonna go for like 2 more laps. Like I'm just like, we're just running, and Jennifer, I was just could go on for as long as it could go on. I don't know how long that is. So, but when we were out on the course, I think really the second and third day, we kind of like were running at different paces. So we didn't really run side by side, but we did it, a couple night loops on that second night. And I know at that time I was sleepy tired, and we weren't really chatting that much. We just said a couple things like, oh, hey, how's your husband's out here? Okay, that's nice. How's that going? Good. Your kids came back from, just like kind of chit chatting. But I don't remember like too much. Like, hey, what about you, Jeff? Maybe you have better recollection.
No, I think we had discussed a little bit about like how long it was going to go, and I believe I told you that I thought it was going to go to 300 because I was smoking crack. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I think that's great. At the end of the race, you told me that you had it in your mind that you wanted to go to 300, and I thought that is awesome, because that's the kind of mindset that it takes to actually go to 300 is to actually begin the race. And like starting this race, I felt that like Jennifer was going to go over 200 miles because we had Gabe coming to the race and Jacob, who had also, I had personally seen them run to 200 miles at Big's backyard. And so I certainly thought that they were capable of doing it. And I also knew that they were going to be aiming for that like coveted spot at the Big's backyard. So I thought they would be motivated to go to the 200 if they were able to get through, any other types of major obstacles, which can come up. And I didn't know what Jennifer would do, or Tanner. They could both run really phenomenal runs, but yeah, I think I kind of thought I would go maybe 200 to 250 miles, possibly something like that. But then again, that was only before I started the race. And started the race, could go to 300, could go wherever. And then once I saw Jennifer was really working and really impressed me with her perseverance. And then that's motivating too, because it's really nice to see, the other person really, really pushing it. And then you're like, well, geez, if she's going to keep on going like this, then maybe we'll just set a new record for the US. And that would have been amazing. And that
would have been amazing.
That kind of thing is possible. And I think, if there's a little more backstory, is like both Jennifer and I have been assists in the past, and I've had 2 assists, and now you've had 2 assists. So your turn to win next time when you do a backyard. So this is my first win. I've done the 3. I jumped in another Bigs after I did the AT just to do a fun run. I did like 20 miles. But so that for me, I really want to be the final person finishing. And I think that I didn't really recognize Jennifer's level of perseverance until the daytime of the 3rd loop. Like going into like 200, 210, for me, like I wasn't really envisioning how far the race could go. And I think that maybe I could have been more collaborative with Jennifer instead of like being in my own race mindset, but maybe try to be more collaborative so that we could push it further in the distance. So maybe that's something that I'll aim to do more if we go back and do the Ohio backyard again.
What's so interesting to me is that, there's other states, even, Tennessee's probably looking at Ohio and they're like, what is going on with Ohio? Why are there so many amazing backyard ultra runners in this state? And it's just like blows me away, just the results. You look at other affiliate backyard ultras and they're not putting up these numbers. Why do you think, Ohio is so dominant at the Ohio backyard ultra scene, or at the backyard ultra scene, excuse me? And Jennifer, if you want to start with this one.
Oh gosh, I have no idea. I mean, there's some really strong runners in Ohio, and yeah, it is. I did not realize the statistics that Ohio backyard outperformed the others by that much. Like that was new news to me. So yeah, I wish I could answer that. I don't know.
Harvey, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's pretty amazing. Like the Ohio backyard, we had maybe 8 runners that finished 150, which was above many countries in terms of what they have had as their final person. So I think that one of the things is Ohio is underrated in terms of ultra running. You get a lot of publicity of the West Coast mountain running, and then also we're not that far from the Mecca, being Big's backyard, like Laz's territory. But Ohio runners, I feel like we are kind of diversified. We tend to do a balance of, like, there's a lot of road races and trail races. And a lot of times I think that people can get kind of focused on one of those, being trail running. If you live out maybe in the Rockies, or you live out west, maybe you get more into trail running. Maybe if you live down, it's just, I feel like Ohio has a nice mix of like trail and road races. So that could be part of it too. But yeah, it's fantastic. I'm glad to see our home state really has a huge group of people pushing to run. But that backyard ultra is now in 50 plus countries and more than 10,000 runners competing. So that's phenomenal, and it's great to see it growing so rapidly. It's the fastest growing specialization of ultra running worldwide, and so it's kind of neat to see that explosion.
Yeah, we had some people today on Facebook commenting on our post that they were going to tune in from Romania, and like it was like,
I was with you guys in October for the 24-hour World Championship.
There you go.
So it's just awesome, kind of, seeing how this backyard ultra format has become a global event. Laz has kind of pushed that a little bit the past couple of years, and it's just great to see that continue to go there. I want to close out the race real quick. So Jennifer, let's walk through, your final 2 laps, your final loop, and kind of let's talk about how the race kind of came to an end.
So I would say, I don't remember exactly when it was, after a couple of the day loops, I looked at my crew, which then was Jeff and Claire, and I said, there's 2 things that are going to prevent me from going forward. One was for whatever reason, sometimes when there's cold night air, I start wheezing, and I was wheezing so bad going up the hills. And I said, I need to, like, I don't use an inhaler. I mean, I have for like bronchitis or something, but I said, I need an inhaler. If I can, like, I need to break this up. And there was some guy who, I can't remember his name. He was a doctor, and nobody had an inhaler, but he started like doing this, like on my chest, trying to like break up, the stuff, and which was great. It unfortunately didn't do much for me. So there was that. And then the pain behind my knee. And I told him, I said, I can probably go, maybe another 4 yards, which I think is about what I did. But we tried icing the knee. Like those 2 things were just, I was starting to do a downward spiral. So I knew, I knew my time was limited. I wanted to go as long as I could, but I knew between those 2 things, it just, it's getting slower. And, I knew I was about done, and I didn't want to be done, but I kind of knew. And then apparently I had the lean thing going, which the funny thing was, I didn't even know I was doing it. the big, and my husband's like, you're leaning. Why are you leaning? I'm like, I don't know. I'm tired. So I didn't even know. And then after I realized it, I tried to kind of straighten it back out. And then when I'd come in, I was thinking, okay, I need to like stretch or something. And then I'd forget. So anyway, so the lean thing, not painful, didn't even know it. You know, it was the other two that just kind of took me out. And then, you know, in hindsight, I'm like, could I have kept going a little bit further? I'm like, nah, I think, you know, I was just done. And quite honestly, I'm paying for the pain behind the knee thing for a little bit. So it's all good. But yeah, but you know, it was okay. I wasn't, you know, I was happy, you know, sure, I wanted to go longer, but I was happy with the day and I was happy with, you know, how things turned out. And I have to say, I was just floored by the people that came back to cheer us on. I mean, I just could not believe like all of the cheers and the support. It was overwhelming. And I was out there on that third day and it kind of felt so surreal. You know, it was a beautiful day running through the woods that I knew my time was about up, but just I was so grateful and to, you know, to be able to have done what I was able to do and to have all those people out there cheering and my family and friends. And it was a great experience.
That's awesome to hear. Harvey, what about you in the final couple moments? Did you realize that, you know, this thing could end in the next loop or so, or were you kind of shocked when you were the only one that had to do one more loop?
Well, this is a chat about that, you know, the poker face thing. You do want to have that poker face. And Jennifer, I had no idea that you had any sort of issue with your knee at all, period. And I'm very sensitive to like awareness about people's strides and things like that. I didn't notice that at all. So that was, but the side lean was like, oh, I was like feeling it for you. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing that when people have that, they aren't aware of it. And I mean, you went on for like 8 hours like that. And then like to do it on the road was one thing, but then you went on the trail, which had like, you know, rocks and some roots and things like that. You had to like navigate around and go through. And I mean, it just like seemed like, geez, man, that seemed like very challenging to be running like that and keeping yourself moving like that. Definitely. But honestly, I never count anyone out. Like, I mean, it's like, you just cannot count anyone out. And like, you potentially Jennifer could have like, you know, gone through, you know, she was in the most difficult part of the day. Like, I mean, because it was really getting warm. It was really hot. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was a little concerned just because of like you know, when you get up in the hillside, there's like no coverage. It is really warm. And I'm used to running bad water and I felt really warm. So I'm like, I haven't mentioned to Michael, I was like, you may want to have someone up there in case one of us passes out up there. Because it's really hot. Your body has a difficult time dealing with adjusting your temperature once you've been into that further mileage. You get cold faster and you get hot quicker. So that was, but I knew that Jennifer, I was you know, kind of like, you know, mentally aware of where her laps were. And I knew that she was coming in with like 4 minutes to go to the next lap. And when you get down to that situation where you start like getting less than 5 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go, then it's like you start losing like 20 seconds here. Then I know it's really difficult to like prep yourself, like get enough nutrition, enough hydration to go to the next lap. So I didn't know if she would be able to pull out of that. I mean, at that point I was like, I was just like, well, you know, this thing might go really far. It might go even further. It's gone very far already. And so I really didn't predict anything, but I knew once that was happening, it's very difficult for the runner. It's like, it puts you in a very difficult situation when you're in that and then Jennifer just, you know, she said, hey, you know, I've given it a strong effort and I'm finished at this point. So good luck, you know? And then I'm like, well, I hope I don't trip on this last loop. It hurt myself. But yeah, so and yeah, so it was just you know, running those daytime loops. Actually, I felt better on day 3 than I did on day 1. And it was kind of like Jennifer was saying, it was like a lot of euphoria of like having those people there it was so nice to have those people come out and cheer us. And it was like, not just like they're cheering me or cheering her, like cheering just the spirit of like everyone that got us to that moment. So that was pretty cool. And it's a very special event, that Ohio Backyard Ultra. You know, when Michael and I were first talking, I was like, you know, I saw the course and I was like, you know, maybe you want to like do a couple of things to make it like, so that more runners will go even further. And he's like, well, I've always considered different locations, blah, blah, blah. No, but this location is perfect. It's like, you don't want an easy location. This is going to be the location. And I know Michael loves the location. I mean, it means a lot. So the location is not why we made it so far. It's a special location. It was because of the runners who came. That's why we got that far. It wasn't because that location, to be honest with you, Wesley, is tough. It's not like, no offense to the Belgian runners, like that, if you're running on a flat surface, like it's a lot easier to get 300 plus than if you're running very steep hills, and 450 feet of like climbing every hour. Like that ends up being about, how much did we climb, Jennifer? Was it close to Mount Everest? Like it was about 20 some thousand feet over 55 hours. So, I mean, it's a lot easier. I mean, like I told Chadwick, it is a bit of a massage getting the hills in there because it does, give your body a variation. But it is, that course, it is special, but it was the people that came and Michael Owen's organization to help to fuel that fire to get the runners to where it is. And I don't even think that's even close. Next year, who knows how far it's going to go. But I don't know about those predictions for next year now.
I actually have taken a year off. I was banned by our team internally. We had a conference, and they told me, listen, you got to take 1 year off. We're gonna have Cam Wrench do the predictions next year. So Cam will do an excellent job. Confident in him.
Yeah, I'm surprised Wesley's not blaming the intern for the incorrect data he had. So, but we've got a few minutes left here with everybody, and we got a few chat questions we'd like to get through, as well as some quick questions that we always end the show with. First, Tim Crow says never play poker with Russo ever. It's a bad choice. But looking at the other stuff, we had a question at the beginning that was from Doug, who says, what is the importance of cross-training, stretching, etc. into overall fitness? Harvey, you want to go first?
I would say it is, getting back to that earlier question about the time element. So, you want to try to get the low-lying fruit and maximize your time. So cross-training is amazing. And especially for ultra running, I would say people totally underestimate the power of walking. Like it is 95% of ultra runners do not walk enough, period. I'm just telling you the truth. So walking is really powerful, and you can walk with your family. You can walk with I make my coworkers sometimes do meetings where we walk. And it's powerful. It's real powerful stuff. Stretching is really important. I don't do enough stretching. My buddy Ian Hughes, who does sports massage, said I'm the second least flexible person he's ever worked on in his life. So I should do more stretching, but any type of cross training is really powerful. If you can, personally, I do some very simple things push-ups. I do planks and sometimes pull-ups. I'm pretty regimented on push-ups and planks. And I also do some other bizarre stuff after I did the Appalachian Trail and I came off of that, and including when I balance on one leg, each leg every day while I'm brushing my teeth and flossing. So I do a lot of things like that where I'm multitasking. So my partner, she could come in and say, Harvey, what are you doing? Crazy stuff. But yeah, I have regimens like that I do is just part of my routine, and incorporating it. My classroom, my students, they oftentimes do things like that. We'll do wall squats and planks and things like that, in between classes, and that's kind of nice too. But yeah, any type of cross training will make you more resilient to prevent injury, for sure.
Awesome. Jennifer, what about you? What do you think on those topics?
Definitely. In fact, when I first started running, I haven't been running all that long, but it was just running, right? But then I got into some weightlifting, and I think it's so important to incorporate some of that in what you do, so I've always done some of that. And then last summer in particular, I started several, like just more of a program where several days a week, I had a great program from a PT, and that involved just a lot of, like Harvey said, single leg balance type stuff, leg specific stuff, core specific stuff. Because I think especially when you get into these long races, like, where you're going for so long, you have to be strong head to toe, not just your legs, your core, especially, you need to be all over strong, I think, in order to survive longer, I think.
If I had more time, I would do yoga more frequently as well. I've been totally neglecting yoga this year. We're not really doing the classes because of COVID in Cincinnati. So I used to like to do that like 3 times a month, maybe going like once a week. That was amazing. And I miss that so much. That really added a lot. But whatever you can include, it would be very nice for your overall like fitness.
Yoga is an interesting one. Random thing. Last time I was in Seattle with my friends, we went to a yoga class, and I sweated so much doing yoga that my fingers were pruny. I have never sweat that much in my life. Don't know why, but I was like, I gotta give this another thought, because some of that core stuff you have to do for it. It's like just my body's shaking, and so like it's definitely something to do if you want to. I think it's a good cross training. I would definitely agree with that.
You guys think the blinds are down because I for the show tonight, to block the light in, but no, it's because I was doing yoga earlier last night. So you can't have, people seeing me trying to do, beginner yoga pose. I'm still learning out here. So it's been a good journey so far. John, I think we've got one more chat question.
We got another one from Steven. It says, I think I know the answer to this one. I'm about to hit 40. Am I too old to start training for ultras?
No.
What do you think, Harvey? No?
No way, man. That's what I love about our sport, is that you can be starting, in our race. For example, we had Barry, who was in his 60s, who came from Dayton, Ohio. And we had a young man who was or Barney, I'm sorry, and another guy who was 17. So, it's one of my good friends, Ed Russo. He's now 84, and I've known him for 25 years. He's still running the 24-hour race, and he got started when he was in his 40s. So they absolutely not. And Jennifer, showing that you probably haven't even hit your peak yet, and you're at 55 years young. So that's bam. How do you feel about that?
I started running ultras when I turned 50. I did 50 for my 50th, and prior to that, I hadn't really run all that long. So definitely not too old. You're in your prime.
Love it.
Marco Omo is a friend of mine who's an Italian runner, and he actually won the UTMB at age 58.
That's awesome.
So, he eats all plant-based foods, which I really speak highly of for like your longevity. Like I've been, but it's amazing. At age 67, he was the 16th finisher of 1300 in the Marathon des Sables.
Wow.
At age 67. So that's kind of an amazing thing that it's, Jennifer and I, we could be racing together in like another 2 decades from now. She'd be like, oh, Harvey, I remember we go back in the day now, so it's like,
yeah.
It's gonna be like, I'm tired of having you guys on this thing. You guys, I'm tired of it.
We could only hope.
Right. Oh, it's no hope. It's gonna be.
Last comment from the chat before we jump into the 2 quick questions before we close out. From Mike Rowe, it says, let's have all of Ridge Runner Nation flood Laz's Facebook with posts about why Jennifer needs to be in Bigs this year. We already had some comments from Michael, and they were going back and forth about it, and we all agree, because right here, I'm going to say it right now, we are looking at one of the 2 winners of Big's Backyard Ultra this year. So we don't know who's going to be, but I imagine Jennifer's going to get in, and it's going to be between Harvey and Jen at the end. We're going to see it.
Oh, man.
We're going to see it. I'm calling it right now. That's my prediction, Wesley.
I think there's no doubt about it that she'll have a really strong opportunity to be in the race, and she'll do very well. And I imagine, going down there, I could see, it's kind of like the strategy sort of like change a little bit. So, Jennifer and I will have like that camaraderie, and I can see, you kind of like work with the person and really try to pull each other further. So that's kind of a neat aspect because we want Ohio to finish, no matter who it is. We would like Ohio to finish as the final person in bigs.
Awesome. And so one quick question that you guys get to answer real quick, because you were been on the show before, but we always let the people who are back on answer this one again. And what song would you add to our playlist? Those of you who don't know, we have a Spotify playlist. It's amazing collection of songs from everyone who's been on the show. If running had walk-up songs like baseball, what would yours be? And Jennifer, if you want to go first.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I'm not going to come up with anything great. How about Eye of the Tiger?
It's not on there. That's a good one.
That's a new addition.
What's so funny is that's exactly what I was going to say too.
Jinx.
That's serendipity right there. That's impressive. I actually going to say that very same thing. It was on my playlist. I love soundtracks. So, yeah, I mean, you got to have that Eye of the Tiger and be hungry.
We got Eye of the Tiger twice. It's going to be on the playlist twice now. Can that even happen?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Before we close, do any of you have sponsors you'd like to plug or some final thank yous to anybody?
I'd just like to thank Michael Owen and Brian Reese for a wonderful race and for sharing their beautiful property with us. And to my awesome family and crew that were there to help me. Couldn't have done nearly as much without them. And to all the other great runners that were out there. And thanks, Mike Rowe. Thanks for your vote of support.
How about you, Harvey?
Yeah, also to Reese, for the usage of his homestead. He had such great enthusiasm. I mean, the guy was fantastic. At the end, I was like, it'd be nice to maybe jump in the lake. And he's like, let's go. I was like, okay, let's go, man. So, and then Michael Owen, he definitely put a tremendous amount of passion into this. And this is a real tradition now going forth. It's going to draw even more competition next year. And, to every runner who went out there and did their best, that was amazing. Our crews and the people that came out and just helped volunteering, sharing that love, that was amazing. Sponsors, I don't normally plug my sponsors that much, but I will say these Newtons are amazing, and I actually wore these Newton. These are Newton Gravity 10. And I wore these on the trail as well as the road. So I started off the first 6 or 7 hours with my trail Newtons because it was very muddy. Jennifer can attest to that. In fact, they had to do a couple little like modifications, like on one little section where they had to kind of resurface the tread there. But the road shoes, I wore these on the trail and the road. And Newtons are not so well known. I think fewer than probably 1% of ultra runners wear Newtons, but they're a small company based in Boulder. They have like the lugs so that you land midsole and you go off. Very supportive. The shoes are made of recycled bottles and they are totally biodegradable. Phenomenal shoes. You can get 20% discount if you just use Lewis 20. So if you look at my form from the very start of the race to the very end of the race, it doesn't change. And the shoes really, really help the form. They just don't have the big dollars that some of the other major names in our sport have. So they're not as well known, but they're a hidden gem. So if you want to give them a shot, I know you will not be disappointed. Really amazing shoes. And I recommend the Gravity or the Distance. Like the Distance are like for a little bit shorter distance. I usually wear those for like half marathon races or shorter. But they're amazing. Yeah. So,
awesome.
So thank you guys for having us. It's been fun. And Jennifer, you put such great energy into your sportsmanship. You were a fighter. Like you ran strategically smart and you never let up. So that's just outstanding. And I have real respect for your efforts in that race. And I look to to see you doing really amazing things for years to come. So keep it up.
Well, thank you, Harvey. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank both of you for being on the show this evening. It was awesome. We loved hearing all about the dominance of Ohio runners in the backyard ultra style format. Like I said, I called it earlier. 182 are going to win bigs in the fall. So if you want to support Jen, go ahead and scream at Laz about her getting in. And if you want to support Harvey, go ahead and get that Lewis 20. Go check out some Newton shoes. So we'll see you all next week on the next Ridge Runners Live. It's been a blast.
All right.
Bye,
All right,
everybody.
guys. Thanks so much.
Cheers. Bye, guys.